Okay, so I'm going to talk about this project, Service Supply Chains project. It's a national project. It's led by Queensland DPI and Digita is a major contributor financially and with technical expertise. So the reason this project came about was basically that ASEAN fruit and vegetable consumption is predicted to increase by 100% between now and 2050, and there's significant opportunities for Australian horticulture. There is a lot of wastage between the farm and the retailer. There is a lot of competition from other exporting countries, in Chile, South Africa, Chile especially with stone fruit, which I'll be mentioning a lot because I'm not going to be talking about vegetables necessarily, but I'll talk mainly about fruit in this talk. And yes, we've depended on this clean, green, fresh image over the last maybe 20 years, but it won't get us where we want to go because it can be copied and is being copied. So what can we do with our fresh produce to differentiate our produce from our competitors? Well, this project aims to do that, by developing high quality value chains, consistency of product, integrity, service, and these are much harder to copy by our competitors. So the project objectives, well, there's the motherhood statement: increase the value and profitability of Australian horticulture export businesses by improving the freshness, consistency and reputation of Australia's exports into Asia. And there's three components to the project. There's monitoring to improve chains. There's development of predictive tools to actually give tools to the growers and exporters to use possibly to be able to predict what's going to occur to their fruit once it is exported. And then there's the extension part of the project, which is named Sustainable Solutions. So how do we get each industry for each commodity to actually come on board and utilise the information we gather from the monitoring and utilise the predictive tools that we develop. So they're the three key objectives. So if I quickly go through each one, so monitoring to improve chains. Obviously we can't improve what we don't know. So what the project is about, and the project began mid-2016, sorry. So with the monitoring, we want to compare different technologies, particularly temperature monitoring technologies, to monitor from grower right through to the retailer if possible in export markets. Be able to demonstrate that these technologies have commercial advantages. Knowing what the temperature is in your export chain is important. Compare monitored conditions and product outturn quality, and be able to recommend where you need to make changes in the export market to actually improve the quality of your product, and strengthen trust and transparency in the export chain between the growers and exporters in Australia and the importers and distributors and retailers overseas. Because at the moment, what occurs over in export markets isn't too clear from the local perspective. So we're trying, part of the project, to improve that trust and transparency. I'll talk a bit about each of those objectives. So export temperature monitoring, it's been happening for 30 years plus, but the technology's improved to the stage now where we basically use RFID or SIM-based monitoring systems, minimal intervention, which basically means you put them in the carton, you set them going, and you don't have to worry about them. The data is received via our telephone networks here and overseas, or by RFID sensors positioned here or in warehouses overseas. So it's changed a lot. You don't need anyone overseas to actually go in there and pick up the loggers and download the data. It's all done in real time, web-based. You can look at it as it's happening. So obviously we're going to be doing a lot of this. The Queenslanders are doing their main crops of mango. The main crop is mango, and they've already done a lot of this monitoring, and we'll be doing it for table grapes and stone fruit. And so there's various technologies. The Lopresti Tracks is a sim-based logger, minimal intervention. You can even track on Google Maps or something like that. You can even track, or on their own software, web-based software, you can actually track where the shipment is and have a look at what temperatures are occurring in that shipment. So it's really useful. It's something that I think a lot of the industries will be interested in, but again, it's getting them to familiarise themselves with this technology and be able to utilise it themselves. And this is just some examples of the real-time data. The top one is nectarines, so air freighted. So you can see on the left-hand side there, the top graph, that the temperature during air freight jumps up quite to 10 degrees. And there's a wide range of temperatures as well. And with mangoes, the same export chain, a good one on the left and a poor one on the right. Mangoes are usually transported between 12 and 15 degrees. And as you can see on the right-hand side, something's gone terribly wrong and they've gone up to beyond 30. So there's going to be major issues there with that product once it gets into retail. And then finally there's predictive tools. So the idea here is to run laboratory trials or simulations to determine the impact of fruit maturity, temperature and storage period on quality, and trying to simulate what happens in export markets. And then utilising various software platforms, or one in particular we're hoping, to actually give industry a web-based tool where they actually can go in there, put in some numbers, a fairly straightforward interface, user interface, and get some predictions about what the likely impact of certain storage times, or export times, temperatures will have on the quality of their fruit. I'll talk a bit more about that later on. Just with the predictive tools, what we're hoping to do is, there's various types of predictive tools. What we're hoping to do is will allow horticultural industries to anticipate possible quality issues prior to export. So poor harvesting immature fruit, the effect of harvesting immature fruit, the effect of disinfestation protocols on quality, and even assess the risk of rot development during export based on harvest assessments, and I'll talk a bit about that. You'd be able to vary the quality, harvest quality of the fruit, and the model, the tools should be able to tell you what's going to happen in terms of quality change along the chain. And also hopefully be able to determine at any point in the chain how much time has that fruit got remaining before it becomes unsaleable, which is termed the residual shelf life. Very ambitious, because this is, modelling of this type has been tried for many years and no one's really come up with a good integrated model, so this is ambitious. And possibly understand the dollar benefits of modifying the practices to improve quality. And then finally there's the extension bit, so we want to assess the drivers and impediments to adoption by industry, and we've probably got some good information about that already. Non-confidential case studies demonstrating why there's a business case, provide the export chains with support to implement improvements, training, running workshops and presentations, and train private providers to ensure that there's an ongoing impact after the project ends. Current partnerships, so these are the collaborators at the moment. We're hoping to bring in, some large table grape exporters as well on the Victorian side. So it is a big project. There's many collaborators, and we are hoping, as I said, to bring in some other industry co-funders and participants. So where to from here? So early stages in the project. The project's currently worth $16 million over 5 years, total investment of $16 million over 5 years. And the approach is to demonstrate the benefits using targeted co-investing chains. So Montagues for stone fruit down in Victoria, Mambaloo for mangoes in Queensland. So using the big exporters, big growers to help spread the word to their growers as well. Work with 5 to 6 commodity groups and also hopefully co-invest, get other commodities or chains co-invest in the future. And we're looking for peak bodies and service providers to also increase the project impact and benefit. Okay, so that basically covers broadly what the project is about and a bit about the challenges we're faced in horticultural chains.